Hi my sisters in Christ, welcome back to my channel. I'm so excited for this video because I just wanted to do a get to know me sit down video where you guys can just really know more of Lily and who I am, where I come from, and just a little fun facts about me. If you guys have any more questions or curious to know more about me, make sure that you guys leave all those comments and questions in the comment section below. Before we get started, make sure that you guys like this video. Make sure to subscribe to my channel and turn on your post notifications so you get notified every single time that I upload. Without further ado, let's get into this juicy get to know me. I'm gonna kind of start from the beginning, where I'm from, where I was born, so you guys can get an idea of exactly who I am and where I come from. My dad is Salvadorian. He was born in El Salvador, and my mom was born in Mexico, Mexicali to be exact. I was born in East LA. To live and die in LA, it's a place to be. Gotta be there to know it. Everybody wanna see it. Okay. If you're from that area, let me know. I didn't grow up in LA, raised more in San Diego area. Majority of my dad's side of the family are in LA, and my mom's side of the family are more like in San Diego, Mexico. I was born in East LA, not the prettiest place to be born at, but yes. That's originally where I was born. It was really ghetto, you guys, like I'm not joking. I feel like my lips looked really crusty and dry, so I needed to put some lip liner and lip gloss. This is from Ulta Beauty brand. This lip gloss is from NYX, but okay, I wanted to put on the brown one, but whatever. I feel like my lips had no dimension right now. Okay, I feel a little bit better. So my parents met in LA at the beach, to be exact. My mom had gone and my dad had gone at the same time, and my dad at the time had a niece or a cousin, I believe, and my mom had her younger sister, and the two little girls were playing, and then, you know, one thing led to another. Both of them met up, and that's pretty much where it happened and chemistry happened. And there is 6 of us, so there's 4 girls and two older brothers that I have. Then I have an older sister, and it's me, and then I have my 2 younger sisters, which is Chantel, and then my younger one, Chantel, I'm sure you guys probably know her. She's also on Instagram. She does content as well. I am pretty much considered the middle child, even though there's 4 girls, so I'm like the second oldest. Okay, this is kind of harder than I think, talking about me and me growing up and all of that stuff, because growing up, it wasn't very your ideal mom and dad together, having a home, having a stable home. I come from a very dysfunctional family, a lot of generational curses. My parents were always on and off. They weren't together, which I feel caused a lot of trauma for me in the very beginning. Growing up Hispanic, there's a lot of domestic violence. There is a lot of generational curses that get put onto the kids, and it was just really hard growing up with parents like that. There was a lot of inconsistency. There wasn't a lot of stableness in my home. A lot of going back and forth with my mom and my dad, but eventually we ended up living with my dad majority of our childhood. I don't want to get into too much details, but yeah, we grew up majority of our childhood with my dad, so we're kind of more raised with my dad. I mean, I do have a lot of memories with my mom growing up as well, but my parents right now are not together. So kind of fast forward, I was a very athletic kid. I used to love to play volleyball, basketball. I played track and meet. I played a little bit of soccer. I played softball. I just loved sports. I was always kind of like an athlete. You know, fitness was just kind of instilled in me. You guys, I was such a nerd. In all the clubs that you can think of in high school, I was in like the French club, I believe. I was in the photography club. Also in this club called Academic Decathlon, and you guys, I ended up being the captain for that club. And it's so crazy because on Saturdays we would literally go and take math tests, English tests, and that was my fun. Kind of thankful that I was a child like that. I never really got in trouble in high school or junior high. I got student of the year, so I've always been very competitive when it came down to my grades. Really makes a difference with who your friends are in high school and growing up, because they'll literally influence you. Going into high school, that's kind of where I didn't even know who I was, girl. I played volleyball. I feel like volleyball was my fun space to be at. Growing up with my dad, it was really hard. He was very strict and we couldn't really do much. I wasn't really allowed to go out anywhere. For homecoming, you could just throw that out the window. Prom, I did go to prom, but my dad, again, he was very strict. I didn't really go out with friends or things like that. But when my dad was away on work trips across the country, that was my time where I would just go all out. I think having strict parents, just start to do things behind their back. I was like doing anything bad. I was sneaky. I would go out with my friends or things like that. I can assure you that if anybody knows me from high school, they can just say Lily was a nerd. I was legit a nerd. I never really got in trouble or anything like that. I was 17 when I graduated, and then I got my first job at Office Max. It's so crazy because where I live, there's a shopping center with Tilly's, grocery stores, just very retail store jobs. And I remember I went around one weekend and I put in paper applications, because at the time, I guess I'm old now, but nobody does paper applications anymore. You have to go online. But at the time, I just went I went to every store and I turned in my applications. A lot of places actually called me. I think it's because I had a lot of community service. I was in every club in high school, like I said. A lot of companies did reach out to me. The first interview that I ever had, you guys, this is crazy. I think it was so traumatizing because mind you, I'm 17, I've never had a job. This is my first interview ever, and it was at Coffee Bean. I just remember they had told me, oh, you're gonna interview with the regional manager of the freaking Coffee Bean. And I'm like, what? How am I gonna interview with this guy? I don't know. And when you're supposed to kind of do your research for a company before you head into your interview, I didn't know anything. And I went into the interview, I was like semi-dressed good, like slacks and a nice top. I was so young, and the manager just literally went all in with me. He was just like, well, what are the hours that we open? And I'm like, I'm not sure. And he's like, well, do you know the history behind Coffee Bean? No. And he's like, well, why do you want to work here? And I literally said, well, it's because I love coffee. And I literally laughed, and he was so serious, and he was asking me these crazy detailed questions. Like, bro, like, this is my first job, first interview. I even told him that. I just told him that I had gotten out of high school. I'm looking for a new job because I'm going to be going to college soon. I was a good candidate for that job. I don't know. He just said we'll follow up, and I literally remember walking out and I was crying in my car. I was literally crying because he made me feel so stupid. And then I think the next day or the next week, I believe, I got an interview at Office Max. That was my first job ever. And the manager was super cool, and I was making only $8.25 at the time, which is freaking crazy. I literally don't even know how I survived. But working in there, I grew a little bit more of my confidence. I loved going into work. And I'll see if I find a picture of myself here and I can post it. But that was my first job. I was so excited. I like straightened my hair. I just felt so good going into that job. During this time, my dad and we weren't doing so good. Decided to move out. I moved out of my dad's house when I was 18 years old. Mind you, my dad wasn't the best person to live with. He literally was such a harsh parent. It was just hard to live with him, you guys. Without not going into too many details, super strict. Obviously, excuse my language now, I don't mean to say this, but at the time I hated to live there. I felt so miserable living with him. I moved into my older sister's house and I was there for a little bit, but then I eventually had to move out of her house. Ended up moving out because I was just sleeping on the couch and everything. And then I remember I went with one of my friends from high school, and I ended up looking up rooms for rent on Craigslist. I was looking, and then I found one room, and it looked decent. The lady that I went to go see the room for, she had a big 2-story house. She was a wealthy Hispanic family. To me at the time, it looked very like they had a lot of money, but her furniture looked very expensive, so I know they had money. I think her husband did construction or something. But anyway, I ended up finding her on Craigslist, and she had a room for rent. The thing that stood out to me was that she said that I also have my own personal restroom, and she was looking for a young girl that didn't have any kids or anything. So I'm like, perfect, let me go with my friend. And she came with me, and oops, I didn't want to go by myself. I went to go look at the room, and I was like, oh my gosh, I really love this. The lady was super sweet. She spoke in Spanish, but she said you can move in, and I just told her, can I give you half now just to hold it, and then I'll give you the half when I move in? And she said, yeah, that's fine. I even told her, she's like, do you have a bed? Do you have furniture? And I said, no. And she said, well, I just left my, because she had 2 little boys at the time, but I think one of them, that was their room, but she left his bed there for me, and it was a clean bed. It looked really nice. So I was like, oh my gosh, thank you so much. So that's why I feel like God always took care of me, to be honest. I don't even know how I survived on working with $8.25, and mind you, I was only getting 20 to 25 hours, sometimes 30 if I was lucky, 32. But anyway, I ended up moving in there, and my rent for the room was $500, and I didn't have to pay for utilities or anything. I think she was charging, but she just removed it because she knew that I was so young. Now that I think about it, I probably look so little moving in there. I moved in, and you guys, it was so hard living there. It was so not hard living there because I was never even there. I was going to college at the time, and I'm literally trying to paint a timeline for you guys of my life, so just bear with me. But at the time I was going to college, I had a tiny little crappy car, I was paying rent, and I was working at Office Max, and at the time I was in a relationship. It was just so much for me at the time. Now that I think about it, going to school, trying to pay rent, I moved out of my dad's house when I was 18. I found a random room on Craigslist, and then I was in a relationship that I shouldn't even have been in, and it was just so much for me at the time. That's why I was so stressed out, and I was only 18. I was literally just discovering life. I was a very like nerdy kid. I did my homework. I never got in trouble. I never even had a boyfriend in high school, to be honest. The boyfriends that I consider boyfriends were, now that I think about it, weren't even boyfriends. I don't know. Anyway, so I was going to college and I was paying rent, and I remember I had only received like maybe 15 to 16 hours for that week, and I told my manager, please, I beg you, I'm paying rent, I need these hours. And I remember he removed hours from somebody and he gave them to me because I told him, I'm being serious, I will work overtime, I need this money, I need these hours, I need to pay rent. So just kind of fast forward, I was 18, I moved in with the person that I was dating at the time. At 18 years old, I got pregnant. And I remember when I first found out, I was so scared. I was crying. I was like, what? I'm like, I'm a kid having a kid. My mind, I know people say, oh, you were already an adult, Lily, but you guys don't understand how I was raised. I was raised so innocent. I'm not like those girls that grew up on the streets crazy, they know what's up already growing up. No, I was not. I was very into my school. I was into my sports. Like I said, I never had a boyfriend, so my mind was just so very young and immature, and I was very naive. I didn't know about life yet. And now that I think about it, my son literally saved my life. Without him, I don't know what I would do. But so I was 18 when I got pregnant. I remember that I was on the birth control, the shot, and I had missed my period. I didn't even remember. I think I had missed, I was on the DECOR shot, and I remember that I didn't, because you have to take it every 3 months, and I went to Planned Parenthood, missed a month and a half, and I'm like, oh, it's fine, the medicine is still in me, it'll be fine. Ended up getting the shot late, and the doctor was like, make sure that you just protect yourself, whatever. I didn't think much of it. The medicine is in me, whatever. I didn't know that I was pregnant till 3 months in. I didn't even, my first trimester, I didn't even know that I was pregnant, you guys. It's so crazy. I didn't even show. I was very skinny at the time, so I'm surprised. But I remember my breast being so sore, and it literally felt like somebody had punched my boobs. I was like, I don't know, maybe it's the shot, because when I remember when I would get the shot, my boobs would become very sore, my back would hurt a lot, I would just feel very fatigued. So I thought those were the symptoms because of the birth control shot, but it wasn't. And I'm like, I haven't gotten my period. I don't know, something was telling me just take a pregnancy test, and I took it alone. I didn't tell anybody, but I bought 3 of them. There was 2 that came in 1 pack, and then I just bought an extra one. Let me just be extra and buy an extra one. The first one, you guys, you know how you have to wait like a minute to 2 minutes and then it'll come up? No, you guys, literally when I peed on this little pregnancy test, right away it was pregnant. And I'm like, no. I was like, I threw it away, and I literally did the other one, and within 30 seconds, bing, literally said pregnant. No, that's not true. And I took the 3rd one. I think it's like the 2 little lines when you're pregnant. I was looking at the instructions, and I'm like, wait, I'm pregnant? No. And I looked at the paper, and it said 2 little lines means you're pregnant, and I'm like, I didn't even have to wait the minute. It literally turned straight to pregnant, and I was literally bawling my eyes out. How can I be pregnant? I haven't even done anything in life. I'm supposed to be going back to college. It didn't happen that way. I see it now, where I was so young and the way my upbringing was just very traumatizing. There was so much domestic violence in my family, to be honest, and it was just really hard. I didn't have my mom to tell me any better and my dad to tell me any better. They had their own trauma of their own and their own generational curses. So I got pregnant, and fast forward, when I ended that relationship, I became a single mom. I didn't really know how to manage my finances correctly. I was scared. I was very dependent on the other person all the time. I was just scared and felt like I'm gonna be okay. I see other women being single moms and they're doing it. If I have to suffer, if I have to sacrifice or broke for a little bit just to leave that relationship, I will. So glad that I did. I'm proud of myself. I ended up renting a room with this girl, and she had her kids, so I really felt comfortable there. And I lived in that room for 5 years. And then during this time, that's when I went a little bit crazy. I started going out, I started drinking, I started just doing everything. I wanted to backtrack a little bit because I wanted to explain to you guys also how I became an online coach. I said I was working at OfficeMax. During that relationship, I did have multiple jobs. Like when I moved out of my dad's house, I worked at OfficeMax. That was my very first job. But having OfficeMax ended up closing down, it went out of business. From there, I was kind of just on unemployment for a little bit, so I kind of was struggling. From that experience that I had there, I ended up working at Staples, and I busted my butt there, and within like 2 to 3 months I became a supervisor, and I worked in the copy center. And low-key, I loved that job. I loved working at Staples so much. I used to love doing like the projects for the businesses. I did flyers, I did posters, I did laminations, I did all that. I did business cards. I'm so good at like doing my own flyers, or when I need to do stuff, like I learned a lot in that job. I got promoted. That job, that's where I found out that I was pregnant. And I remember I told my boss, and I was just crying, and I told him, yeah, this is just kind of backtracking a little bit before moving out. I found out I was pregnant when I was working at Staples, and my boss at the time had told him like I'm pregnant, and he had asked me like, are you okay, like what's going on? You look kind of down. And I just immediately started bawling, and I just told him like I'm pregnant. Just said like I feel so young and I don't know what I'm gonna do with my life. And I think his words literally kind of saves me, to be honest. I remember he told me, think about it in a negative way, or you can think about it in a positive way. He's like, think about you're gonna be a young mom, you're gonna be very active with your son. He gets at a certain age, which he said when he gets like 10-12 years old, you're still gonna be young. You still have your whole life ahead of you. You're gonna be like in your 30s, which I'm 31 now. He gave me so much confidence knowing that I'm still gonna be like a young hot mom. So, well, he didn't say hot, but he just said that you're still gonna be a young mom. You're gonna be able to do so many things with your kids still. Like, you're not gonna be an old lady. And I said, okay, like that made me feel so much better. And then when I found out the gender, well, when I found out if he was gonna be a boy or girl, and I told him, I texted the whole team at the Staples store, and I told them like, oh, I'm having a boy. And then when I came into work the next day, they had like balloons and blue cupcakes for me, so that was really sweet. But then when I had my son, I ended up leaving that job because it was just so hard. My son needed a lot of therapy and stuff for his neck when he came out. I don't want to go too much into details for that, but anyway, yeah, he had a lot of therapy, a lot of appointments and things like that. So left that job. I remember I didn't even put in my 2 weeks. I'm like, I quit. And he's like, what? And I'm like, I quit. And he was kind of mad at me for doing that, and I feel bad for doing that at the time. Like, dang, now that I think about it, I'm like, I literally just text him like, I quit, I'm not going into work. That was so bad of me. Yeah, I got hired at the bank. That's where I worked at Wells Fargo, and literally that was my favorite job too. I became a teller. I remember I've always told myself when I would see my dad going into the bank, I'm like, I want to be a teller. Like, I want to be the one counting the money. I want to work at a bank. It just looks so professional and like such a good job to work at, you know? So I became a teller. I had good sales, and it made me become a banker, a personal banker. And then I got into business banking, and that's literally where I learned so much about like finances, so much about like mortgages, about RAs, about financial advisors, and it's a great job. I learned a lot. I eventually left that job as well when I had kind of like was ending my relationship. Yeah, that's when like I said, I moved in with a roommate for like 5 years. I ended up getting a really good job, and I was doing HR and payroll. I had transformed my roommate's garage into a gym, a mini gym, and that's where I literally fell in love with training people. I was training 5 girls at a time in my small little garage. I didn't even have a lot of equipment at the time. I only had a pair of dumbbells, which I still have because one day I'm gonna frame those. Even before transforming her garage, I would train all the women in the park at like 5 in the morning. It was crazy. I would bust my butt a lot. One of my clients, which she is still with me till this day, like, which is freaking insane. I think it was 2019 when the in-person training, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24. She's been with me, you guys, for 5 years. So if she's watching this, she knows who she is. It's so crazy. Because of her, it kind of sparked my online coaching. When I ended the training with some of the girls there, I would train 5 girls at the same time, and she was my 5 a.m. client. And she told me she's going into nursing school, so it was gonna be hard for her to wake up this early, and she had a lot of homework and stuff. And she's like, can you do this but do it online? And I said, I was like, I'll get back to you. I'm gonna look at that. And that's when I just started training clients. I built my website. I built little PDF programs that I have, literally where it started. And then that's when I was posting more on social media, on Instagram. I just loved it. That's when I started growing more of my following on Instagram. I would post a lot of like cooking videos of me dancing. My reels started blowing up and I got more clients, and I just kind of started learning as I went. I don't know if I was looking at this or this the whole time. Anyway, there was a lot of trial and error at the time. Like I said, that's when like the partying started. Like I was drinking, I was going out, talking to the men, not doing okay mentally. That room during that era, it was a lot of tears, it was a lot of frustration, it was a lot of healing. When I moved into that room, I remember within a month I got invited to church by a mutual friend. And I remember going into church, and literally that's where it all began. Like, the power of inviting somebody to church can literally change somebody's life. It changed my life, and that's why I'm so big on just inviting women to church, because it's not up to me. I'm planting the seed and God will do the rest, to be honest. It's amazing to see how women blossom and blow up and transform their lives with Jesus, and it's because of just me planting a seed. Know that somebody's in your heart and you've been thinking about them and you want to invite them, just invite them. The worst thing they can say is no. The last year of living with my roommate, I was just done. Like, I wanted to just have my own place. I remember I would always cry in my car. I was getting good money with my online coaching and in person, so I decided to leave my HR and payroll job. And I said, my sister and my brother-in-law were the ones that say, like, just do it. Like, if it fails, go back to work. You have the experience. And I said, okay, I'm freaking nervous. I'm so nervous to do this. Like, I'm literally gonna quit my main income, my main source of income, and I have a son and I'm a mom and I'm single. Like, there were just so many things that I put into my head, and doubting and fear and all this stuff. And I said, I'm just gonna do it. If they believe in me, I'm gonna do it. Quit my job. I gave my 2 weeks in. They were really mad too, because it was just a very tedious job, like HR and payroll. Like, it's hard. I left. I pursued my online coaching. I started posting more on Instagram and TikTok, and that's where I kind of started being more consistent, getting more clients in. And then I didn't get no clients. I was stuck again. I was like, damn, like, I'm not making money anymore. I'm like, I need to go back to work. I got this job through this agency, HR and payroll manager, doing the payroll for like all the banks. I don't remember what bank it was. I was doing the CEO, the CFO, like their payroll. It was such a crazy and intense job. And the pay was like almost $50 an hour. I think it was like $47 an hour that I was getting paid. Like, you guys, my checks were popping. But the stress, anxiousness, it was like 45 minutes away. It's just a lot. I love the money. I was making such good money. I love that job. I'm like, dang, God really blessed me. I only lasted like 2 months. I quit again. I quit. And I was like, no. And this is a time, if I'm gonna quit this job, I'm never going back to retail. I'm never going back to HR and payroll. I didn't. I literally busted my butt. I posted all the time. Like, I loved training. Like, it was just in my soul that I love to help women. I am very passionate about helping women create a healthier lifestyle. And I think I'm just so passionate about it because how I grew up, where I came from, like my relationships that I've had, like, it was just a lot of insecurities within myself. And I knew that, like, fitness was the one that really gave me so much confidence at the time. Okay, I'm saying at the time, gave me so much confidence. It boosted my strength. I just felt really good. I had a nice physique, and I use that to my advantage. I'm never going back to HR and payroll. Like, this is it. If I'm quitting this, and I'm pursuing my online coaching and my fitness career. I never went back. Moving forward now, I still do online coaching. I love it. Part of it also was really giving my business to God, really saying, God, I'm inviting you into my business, and I know you have such great plans for it that I can't do this alone. And sure enough, like, he has been very good to me. He has been giving me clients that are just a blessing, and I know that we are meant to work together. And I love all my clients. I appreciate them, and I started doing challenges, and those have been very successful as well. I'm just here to tell you that if you want to do something, you first have to believe in yourself, because I did not believe in myself. I had other people believing in me that I could do it, but I didn't believe in myself. Once I believed in myself, was it. Like, anything that I put my mind to, I know that I can do it. I think the last year of living with my roommate, that's when I made the most money with my online coaching and just brand deals and things like that. So I just told God, if it's meant to be, I'm gonna move out. And I did. I ended up moving out. I got this beautiful apartment that's kind of messy right now, but don't mind my room. I can talk to you guys about my testimony of how I got my apartment. It just has been such a blessing. One thing that I can leave you guys with is, if you want to start your business, if you want to go to school and pursue this career that you want to do, you could do it. Just do not give up. There's going to be times where you may give up. Since it's your passion, you're not going to give up on that. And I never did. I'm glad that I never gave up on myself. I know I've always told myself when I first started social media, I love to record and I want to help women, and it's always been to my core of helping women and being passionate about it. Even if I don't do fitness, I still love to help women and in their healing journey and getting closer to God. It's just been an amazing journey, and I don't regret it at all. But I hope that you guys enjoyed this video. I know I didn't want to say too much. I probably did, you guys, but it's okay. I wanted you guys to get a feel for who I am, where I came from, and just like the questions that you guys are always asking me. I can do another video. I can even do another video of how I actually moved from living with the roommate when I took that leap of faith to finally move out, how all that went. More story times. Let me know if you guys like this video. Let me know in the comment sections below if you guys have any other questions or anything else that you guys want to know about me. But I hope that you guys enjoyed this video. I'll see you guys next time. Yeah.